A lot of observers are of the view that there's no imminent end to the embezzlement of people's hard-earned cash under the pretext of investing. The big sharks are targeting unsuspecting investors, promising them good profits, but in actual fact, disappearing into thin air afterwards. Thousands of retail investors in the Chinese city of Tianjin say they were tricked out of more than 500 million American dollars by sellers of illegal wealth management products. Recently in Botswana, hundreds if not thousands of Batswana have lost their hard-earned millions due to the Ponzi scheme called the Eurex Trade. The impact of these losses is well documented in the media. Kate and Richard Harriman of the consumer watchdog Botswana share with us some of the repercussions that they are aware of.
I think there's a lot of shock and disbelief. People don't really believe that their money has disappeared. We've had numerous emails from people saying the website's down, but there's a new website that's just come up and I can't log on to it. Where's my money gone? We also had one tragic story of a guy that actually drove to South Africa to check the internet there because he couldn't access the site here and thought he might be able to do so going across the border. And when he realised that his money has gone, he's actually been hospitalised. He's so seriously ill and he remains in hospital to this day. We've heard of stories of people who've sold houses, they've sold their cars, everything they own, they've cashed in their life insurance policies to actually invest in the scheme, and they've lost hundreds of thousands of pula.
And you, Richard, what stories have you heard about the Eurex Trade?
Since it collapsed, actually even before it collapsed, I heard from a number of people who'd actually joined Eurex Trade or invested in it. I also heard from people from, let's say, financial institutions who told me that they'd had their customers coming in saying they wanted to cash in insurance policies, pension schemes, so they could invest in Eurex Trade. In fact, one person we know quite well who works in a large financial institution was refusing. She was saying to the customers, no, I will not give you your money because I know you're going to invest it in Eurex Trade and it's a scam. So good for her for protecting her customers' interests and trying to spread the word. But unfortunately, she said to me she knows full well that the people were coming back the next day and speaking to someone else who was giving them the money to invest. So there was not much she could do to prevent it happening, but at least there were some people trying. I've heard also from a number of other financial institutions and investment companies, investment advisors, saying they've had so many people come to them saying, we want to invest in Eurex Trade, what do you think as a financial advisor? And they were all saying, look, it's obviously a Ponzi scheme, you must not. But people did, people, as Kate said, people sold houses, people sold cars, people did all sorts of extreme things. People got bank loans, lying presumably to the bank, telling them what they were going to do with that money, but then threw it into a big hole that was called Eurex Trade, and they will never see that money again. Scammers don't offer refunds. You don't get your money back.
Despite the financial ruins of Eurex Trade, a new investment scheme, all of Asia, is already quickly gaining momentum. They claim to collect money from investors worldwide, which they then pool into one investment fund and leave some in a reserve fund. They then purchase securities and futures from oil companies, promising up to 3% in interest every day.
Greetings and welcome to the official website of International Oil Trading and Investment Corporation, Oil of Asia. Our investment company gives opportunity for everyone to become a part of global oil market. We collect investments from numerous customers from around the world, unite them in one investment fund, and then purchase futures and securities sold by oil companies worldwide. If you still have any questions, check our Q&A page or contact our support team.
Already 10 Batswana are registered as representatives of this particular scheme. The Oil of Asia scheme seems like a dream come true, and with such amazing returns, anyone can fall hook, line and sinker. We asked our guests to explain more about the scheme and what red flags to look out for.
I don't know when it started. It's fairly recent. It's another Ponzi scheme. It's another scheme which offers fantastic returns. Eurex Trade on their website claims to offer up to 2.9% per day. I'm actually looking at the Oil of Asia website right now, and I don't know if you can see that, but it says 3% fixed daily profit for 75 business days. 3% a day. There is not now, there never has been, and there never will be any investment scheme that pays 3.3% per day consistently. They simply don't exist. Any scheme that offers that is a scam. It's interesting though, we did a little bit of research about it, and for instance, some of the clues are quite obvious. They are a registered company in the UK, and they give us their registered address, an address in South London. That's the headquarters of Oil of Asia. That's where it's registered to. This isn't a real company. This is not a real investment scheme. Anything that offers 3% a day is a lie. And also, again, I don't know if you can see this, but affiliate commission, if you recruit other people, in the same way that Eurex Trade operated, if you recruit other people, they will give you, they say, a percentage of that person's investment. Now again, that's a lie. Your account will have that credited online, but you're never going to see that money. That money doesn't actually exist. The interesting thing, the really curious thing, is on their website they give contact numbers for people you can speak to, finding out about the scheme and how to join. And the numbers are in, the people are in Nigeria, the Philippines, Indonesia, India, Brazil, and so on and so forth. And there are 10 names in Botswana. 10 numbers already. Now, the thing that I find really curious and telling is that 2 of those people were also the contact points for Eurex Trade. I'm not saying Oil of Asia is Eurex Trade resurrected, but certainly some of the people who were involved in Eurex Trade here in Botswana are also involved in Oil of Asia in Botswana. And I think that's a clue, another clue, to add to the long list of clues about Oil of Asia that is just another scam. Unfortunately, people will fall for it again though, as they did for Eurex Trade.
What are the red flags that people should look out for when approached with something that looks like a scam?
Local banks, the highest interest rate you're going to get with a local bank is around 6 to 7% maximum per annum. So how can somebody somewhere else be offering such good returns? It's not feasible. Secondly, the fact that you couldn't get your money out for a certain amount of time. So with Eurex Trade, they said you had to invest your principal sum and it had to stay with them for 9 months. So you couldn't get your money back before 9 months, although they said they paid you back some of the interest before that time. So that's not a normal thing either. Even with a bank, you have the right to go and say, so I want to cancel my investment, can I take the money back? I think the main thing is if it sounds too good to be true. You know, it's not realistic.
Observers say that these scammers continue to operate for 2 main reasons. The first reason being that there's no other alternative for people who want to invest small amounts of money. Thapelo Tole of the Botswana Stock Exchange has disputed this fact. He says there are enough profitable and sustainable investment platforms.
I think a lot of people fall for Ponzi schemes, as they are commonly known, because in a situation where you have market returns that are globally low, people look for higher yielding instruments. And then because the real market cannot create real investment returns, it creates a situation where designers of Ponzi schemes actually design Ponzi schemes to produce higher returns that are unrealistic and that are far much above the market. And therefore, people end up being attracted to these Ponzi schemes.
His view are that these people are fueled by one thing and one thing only: greed.
A lot of people actually fall victim because, you know, when people look for returns that are far much above the market, there's some level of greediness involved. There's a belief that they can create money out of nothing, which is very unrealistic. And also, people just think that they can get rich overnight, which is also not possible. Because for every investment or for every business that you have actually need to be involved in, there need to be some means of production that is actually taking place. And therefore, it's a big problem when you have people who are putting their money to be created out of nothing, which is impossible.
The fake investors would promise their victims exorbitant proceeds. This encourages people to give all their savings to these fake investors. Months will pass and the poor victims will not only lose profits, but the capital as well. Kate and Richard are also of the view that despite all the warnings and information out there, yet people still don't take heed of all this advice. And it can only boil down to greed.
The answer is very simple. It's greed. Greed. People go slightly mad when they see the prospect, the false prospect of earning 3% per day. I mean, I would love to earn 3% a day. It would be fantastic. But it isn't true. There's no return. There's no such system. There's no investment scheme that offers that. People, as I say, they go slightly insane. It's a form of lust, if you like. It's akin to, it's a form of arousal. You see these things and your brain gets excited, the chemicals start going, and you go slightly insane, I think. Most people who've got the wherewithal to invest in an investment scheme are smart enough to know, if they were to think logically, that this is a scam. But they lose all of their critical thinking facilities with the prospect of earning 3% a day. And if you go to the websites of Eurex Trade and Oil of Asia, they often have a little calculator saying, if you invest $1,000, after 6 months, after 9 months, this is how much you'll get. And if you put the numbers in, you find that if you invest $1,000 in Eurex Trade, for a year, you're going to earn millions and millions of US dollars. And then people start having these fantasies of yachts and cruises and living in mansions, and all of their critical thinking just evaporates. It comes down to greed, I'm afraid, and it's a primitive emotion, but it's in all of us.
And I think what's rather tragic as well is that they're targeting pensioners. So people who've been saving all their lives and actually do have some ready cash in the bank or assets that they can sell. And we've heard of people going around Hustler meetings to actually recruit elderly Botswana to actually invest in the scheme. And the other thing they're doing is they're targeting young people, encouraging them to get bank loans. And I know of someone who was told, no, go and get a bank loan and then invest in Eurex Trade and you'll get your money back and pay off your bank loan within 2 months. And then you'll be making profit. They did go to the bank and luckily the bank turned them down. But can you imagine you've taken a loan for, 40, 50,000 pula, invested it, and now you're stuck paying that back to the bank for the next 5 years with no return.
Who are these people and how do they operate? Tapele says that these funds are run by some of the greatest minds in the financial and investment field, using tried and tested methods as well as pouring a lot of money and research into the marketing strategies.
A lot of these people are actually people who know how the financial markets operate. They know how to design the scheme in order to cheat people. That is what these guys actually do.
Recent reports in the local media revealed that very educated people fall for these schemes. These are executives, managers, CEOs, to mention but a few. Why is this so, taking into account that this group is expected to know better?
That is a very interesting thing. A lot of people who actually fall for these schemes are people who have gone to school, who are educated, but it is the greed or the greediness or the willingness to get very rich very quickly that drives them to end up investing their hard-earned money in Ponzi schemes.
We hope that tonight's guests saved you or someone you know from investing in crooked investment schemes. Stay tuned for my co-host Nametso on the next segment.
We live in an era where technology has become a seamless part of our day-to-day professional and personal lives. Developments in technology have allowed us to customize and personalize the many gadgets we use to suit our individual tastes and our very unique needs. The big names in the IT sector are responding to this, and we now see applications or apps that were made so popular by the smartphone now available on tablets and desktops. Soon, our computers will be as personalized as our mobile phones. In January 2011, the American Dialect Society selected app as the word of the year for 2010. That action alone means a lot. Being chosen word of the year means that a word is trendy and gaining in popularity. The thousands of apps created can help with as many activities, from staying entertained, keeping in touch with the news, getting fit, getting organized, staying connected with friends and with family. However, not all these applications are created for just fun and games. The ongoing Botswana AIDS Impact Survey uses a tablet application created by developers right here at home, providing solutions to problems indigenous to us. Tonight on First Issues, we discuss this elevation of the once humble application with a range of specialists, from bigwigs at leading international corporations to young independent Batswana developers, and uncover the opportunities that this wave poses for all of us. Welcome back to First Issues, as we discuss exciting new prospects on the application development scene. 2012 was described by Eric Odipo, General Manager Microsoft East and Southern Africa, as the company's biggest change year in its history. The launch of the company's Windows 8 operating system and the new range of Microsoft hardware flooding the market apparently signifies a fundamental change in dynamic functionality. We had the opportunity to catch up with Mr. Odipo while he was in the country for the Windows 8 launch to find out about this fundamental change and, of course, what it means for our own information technology sector.
The trend in the world currently is that the consumer is getting more involved in technology and in devices. So we are seeing more and more people having devices for their own personal use, whether it is a mobile phone or a tablet or a laptop. These same people are taking the same devices to their workplace. This is where the need for people to be able to communicate in any sort of device, having devices that communicate with each other, so that when I'm on my mobile and go to my tablet, I find that what I was doing in my laptop and in my phone is automatically synced. This kind of consumerization is driving a lot of what is required to connect these devices through the cloud to make them able to communicate. And this is one thing that Windows 8 comes in.
The opportunities for application developers to reach the international market is increased by the very way in which Microsoft is structured, working with local partners in every country in which it operates and facilitating regional development in this way.
As consumers and business actually have adopted a lot of technology in their use, applications have become more and more important. So applications is an opportunity for people worldwide, ICT professionals in particular, to develop a mini software that they can put out there in the market it and make some money out of it. It is also something that allows local IT pros to develop software that is relevant to the local population. So for example, in Botswana, it could be an application that tells you the weather in various towns, or an application that enables you to travel more effectively, or a banking application that enables you, for example, to access your bank balance.
This all sounds pretty good on paper, but how are we faring with regards to the use of these new technologies? And how relevant really are these new technologies to developing countries?
I would say that across Africa, most governments have set ICT and progress in technology as a very big step for them. And ICT becomes present in almost every vision from every government that you see. In Africa also, Governments have made great strides in ensuring that stable internet is available, across all markets. So if I look at it from that perspective, there's great opportunity for citizens, for government, to take advantage of what we have happening in this regard.
During our exploration of this subject, we were encouraged to discover that local application developers may not have been attracting much attention at home, but they were certainly making their presence felt on the international scene. What do these recent developments mean for them as local developers?
With Windows 8 being launched, one of the key focuses of Windows 8 is how easy it is to develop applications. And there's a whole bunch of wonderful applications that are available already now. I believe 22,000 plus that can be downloaded from the Windows Store.
Mostly applications that have been, application development in Botswana has been the desktop-centric one. But on the mobile sphere, I'm the one actually who mainly pioneered going out and having the applications on vendor stores. Vendor stores, we're talking about your Nokias, your Blackberries, and all those.
We have sort of offices like e-government, where they want to take services to the people. A call out from the e-government to say, can you, Batswana, come up with applications that can do A, B, C, D? This is what we need, where the public offices come out with problems and encourage open development or open solicitation of ideas in the market on how we can resolve problems.
Do you have an idea that could benefit a family, the nation, or even the global community? It is now time for the stock market review, courtesy of the Botswana Stock Exchange.
We are looking at the performance of the BSE in the past week. The DCI gained a marginal 0.4% in the past week, and the FCI only gained 0%, remaining flat in the past week. On a year-to-date basis, our DCI has gone up by 12.3%, whereas the FCI has lost 1%. Comparing this with the same period in 2012, you'd find that the DCI in 2012 had gained 1.3% this time around, whereas the FCI was only up by a marginal 0.3%. In the past week, we had explained what a DCI is. Now, this week, we'll talk about the FCI briefly. The Foreign Company Index, or the FCI, is also an equity index, just like the DCI, but it tracks the performance of foreign companies which are listed on the Foreign Equity Board of the BSE. In terms of the weight methodology, it's a market cap weighted index, and it only captures capital gains. It does not capture the reinvested dividends. The activity on the BSE, as measured by the turnover in the past week, shows that turnover amounted to 18 million pula, which was generated from only 6.8 million shares. That translates into average daily turnover of 5.9 million pula. On a year-to-date basis, we traded shares worth around 268 million pula, which compares favorably with 173 million pula traded in the same period in 2012. So the average daily turnover this year, or so far in the year, is 4.1 million pula, which is almost double the 2.6 million pula recorded in the same period last year. The volumes recorded this year amount to 173 million shares, which also compares favorably with 76 million shares recorded in the same period in 2012.